This video is brought to you by Virtual Shield's VPN service. A VPN stands for Virtual Private Network, and it's basically an app that you install on your computer or mobile device that encrypts your information and protects it from hackers and greedy websites trying to track your data. Having a VPN can save you from instances like your credit card information being found or somebody hacking into your home security system. Cheap, helpful, extremely easy to use. Check out Virtual Shield's VPN on sale now. Links will be in the description below. What's up guys, Jordan Sather here, Thursday, April 9th, and in this video we're going to cover the last couple of days of Q's posts, but first some Q news. First thing, Joe M has been suspended off of Twitter. He recently got over 270,000 followers, and I guess that was too much for Twitter to let him have. They suspended his account last night. Joe appealed that. Twitter sent him a reply this morning, and it basically said, "We found that you violated our rules by having multiple accounts that you would manage and harass people with," is essentially what they said. Multiple accounts. That was their excuse for suspending him. But here's the thing. Joe didn't have multiple accounts he managed. He only had one. So it looks like Twitter is literally concocting, making up excuses just to lock people out of their accounts or suspend them with. And it wasn't just Joe. But they also suspended the account of his wife this morning too, the missus. So total targeting going on right there. And that means, well, first, you be careful because they're looking for any excuse they can to report people who are saying things outside of those official narratives right now. Suspend them, lock them out, censor them. You got to be careful with what you say on the internet and how you spread that truth. So handle that with care. And the other thing is that Joe and his wife do not have any other accounts on Twitter at the moment or on Facebook. So if you see anything that looks like Joe or the missus on Twitter or Facebook, ignore it or block it. No accounts there. The only platforms they have accounts on right now is Instagram and Gab. So I'll link those down below. And if anything changes, I'll let you know. Now I want to talk about some of those shills trying to undermine Q and the movement, starting off with Austin Steinbart. I seriously hope this is the last time I ever talk about him on this channel. Austin Steinbart. So hilariously enough, shout out to Twitter user TruthHammer888. Apparently he lives in the Phoenix area, and when hearing about Austin Steinbart's court case that was earlier in the week, he actually went to it. Ha! He went to the courthouse and caught a quick clip, recorded Austin Steinbart in the hallway, and posted that on Twitter. Freaking hilarious. And also on Austin Steinbart, Will Sommer. Sleazy, slimy, gross, really dumb Will Sommer wrote this masterpiece for the Daily Beast on Steinbart. Baby QAnon was just arrested. Subtitle: The feds arrested the self-proclaimed QAnon founder after he posted images of NFL players' brain scans. What Will Sommer basically is like desperate paparazzi. Desperate for clicks, desperate for attention, desperate to maintain that official narrative. So he looks for any single piece of drama he can in Q world and writes on it. He wrote on Steinbart. He was pretty much the only person in the media to write on Steinbart. So that must mean we're doing our jobs, stamping the shills out, right? Calling them out. And this was just a desperate piece. He even wrote about me in this towards the end. And he said, for his rival QAnon promoters, Steinbart's arrest was an occasion for celebration. On to the next chapter, tweeted rival figure Jordan Sather, who has urged his own followers to drink bleach to cure diseases. He even linked my tweet. Thanks, Will. Well, maybe one of my next chapters will be suing all these media hacks for libel. How about that? Will Sommer has written some shit, let me tell you that. That's all about Austin. Wait, one more thing. Speaking of shills, speaking of controlled opposition, how about Alex Jones? Ooh! Right in the feels for some of you. I know, still having those attachments to InfoWars and Alex Jones. Come on, you gotta see through his BS. Some of that BS including, well, didn't he say he was gonna reveal Q's identity this week? Tuesday, Wednesday? I don't know. This week's flying by, still hasn't happened, so I guess that was a giant flop. Maybe he was expecting all of us to forget or something? We don't forget, buddy. These fools, they're just destroying themselves, truly. All right, let's get on to Q's drops. Starting off with post 3909 yesterday morning, Q gives us 3 links, a link to a Breitbart article, link to a Fox News article, and then a tweet from POTUS. Let's take a look at these first, and then we'll get into what the post says. So read in order, as Q tells us. So let's take a look at them in order. First up, Breitbart. GOP gears up for next relief fight. Democrats, quote, want the federal government to take over elections. Big surprise there. Fox News telling us the same sort of sentiment. Coronavirus and elections. Dem doing this to gain the political edge. And then POTUS caps it all off with this tweet. Republicans should fight very hard when it comes to statewide mail-in voting. That's the theme here, mail-in voting. Democrats are clamoring for it. Tremendous potential for voter fraud. And ain't that the truth? So if you've heard any of those press conferences that President Trump has been holding daily, you might have heard him mention that mail-in voting. He's not a fan. He talks about how it's ripe with fraud. I saw the press conference yesterday, and Jim Acosta, CNN's Jim Acosta, was trying to press President Trump on the mail-in voting topic. Jim Acosta saying, "Where's your evidence? Where's your evidence for the mail-in voting fraud?" Trying to make it seem like it's all wonderful. There's so much evidence out there with mail-in voting fraud. That's what Trump was even responding to Jim Acosta with. Like, all sorts of evidence out there. I think I just saw an article today about ballots that were dumped in Michigan. Truckloads of them. Happens everywhere. Super easy to do with mail-in voting. So we can't have that. In fact, what we need is a voter ID to really make these elections secure. So that's the theme we picked up from those links that Q gave us. Then they said, why did the World Health Organization make several strong recommendations not to impose a travel ban? Why did select Democrat governors ban the use of hydroxychloroquine? Why does fake news push anti-hydroxychloroquine and the fear tactics regarding the use? Why was impeachment pushed through the House so fast? And did they count on Republicans blocking new witnesses? Time sensitive? Why? When did Biden become the front runner? Why was this critically important? And what happened directly after? Everything's at stake. Welcome to the Democrat People's Republic of China Party. The silent war continues with 2 periods, 6+. All right, let's decode this one. A lot of these questions are rhetorical. The World Health Organization did not want a travel ban because they wanted the disease to spread. Certain governors banned the use of hydroxychloroquine because they wanted the disease to spread. The impeachment was pushed through the House really, really fast because the impeachment, as we'll learn in Q's drops coming up, later ones, the impeachment was really a distraction. It was a giant distraction, so this whole pandemic could get moving along, and they could then use that as their new distraction. So the impeachment was like a distraction for the distraction, I guess we could say. And then towards the end of this drop, it says the silent war continues. I want to note the 2 periods that are used. So Q has posted the same thing in the last few months. The silent war continues. But at first they were posting it with 5 periods. Then they were posting it with 4 periods. Now in recent drops leading up to today, they're posting the silent war continues with 2 periods. So my eyes are on that, noting the pattern could be some sort of countdown. And then the very last thing in this drop was the 6+ that Q gives us. And in one of the very first drops from Q, this was November of 2017, that's when Q was designating which particular global powers, or shall we say bloodlines, families in control. That's when Q was designating them with the plus, the plus plus, and the plus plus plus, the Rothschilds, the House of Saud, and George Soros. George Soros, Q made a reference to as being 6+ in these drops from November 2017. So I think that's what Q is inferring here. That's my particular take, is that Q could be referencing George Soros with that 6+, because we know when it comes to rigging elections and when it comes to propping up those corrupt people, those bad actors in the Democratic Party, it's George Soros. So for me, that fits the context of this drop. Maybe some Soros news will be coming up soon. Next post, 3910. Q gives us links to 2 articles, one from the BBC, one from the National Review, and both of these links are essentially telling us how badass John Durham is. Normally, the BBC sucks, but this article was from over 10 years ago, so maybe there was less suckiness in the BBC back then. Anyway, this article goes into how John Durham investigated the CIA, which we need some of that right now, don't we? John Durham has a stellar ethics, stellar moral compass that he uses. He's formidable. He's a registered Republican. Like, boom, just showing us how good John Durham is. This National Review article, which was from late last year, says he's one of the last trusted prosecutors in Washington. So that's exactly why they chose him to lead the investigations into this huge, huge topic of FISA abuse and really whatever else that leads to as well. And then this particular screen cap that Q gave us was taken from this BBC article right here, and they highlighted the good versus evil in that excerpt. So message sent right there. Next drop, 3911. They will stop at nothing to regain power. Have you ever witnessed the media, Hollywood, a whole Democratic Party basically, because there's nothing left there except corrupt people, foreign leaders, foreign media, etc., push so much hatred towards a sitting U.S. president? Have never seen that. Before, maybe during the Bush years or the Obama years, they would play the divide and conquer games. It would be, you had the Democrat media would hate the Republican president, and then the Republican media would hate the Democrat president, and they would just go into that divide and conquer control mentality, right? Now it's a lot different. Now we have the media just foaming at the mouth all across the board to undermine POTUS and also undermine QAnon as well. A lot of those controlled assets in the alternative media working to undermine Q and trying to be fake MAGA. Look like they support POTUS, but really don't. So, coordinated, defined propaganda, infiltration instead of invasion. Yeah, they'll stop at nothing to regain power, don't doubt that. Next drop, 3912. Read and discern for yourself. That's it. It's good. It's good. I agree. A lot of people need to do that. Discern a lot more. That's for sure. 3913. Q gives us a tweet. Let's take a look at it. At Chris Berg Povnow. This was a video of an interview with a Minnesota state senator who is also a doctor. And he was basically saying in this interview that individuals who died of other things were still being labeled as coronavirus deaths in his experience there. And I don't doubt this is happening all across the country, right? Oh, people died of a parachuting accident. It's coronavirus. Car accident, coronavirus. Pneumonia, that's coronavirus. You see, that's one way they can artificially inflate the numbers, misrepresent the actual truth of what's going on, and then hound home that fear. Make it look like this disease is spreading far more, way more virulent than it really is. And Q continues from that tweet saying, what is the primary benefit to keep the public in mass hysteria regarding coronavirus? Think voting. Think voting. They don't want people to go to the voting booths. They want people to be so damn scared of literally being anywhere near another human being that they won't go out in public. They don't want to vote. So then they can push that mail-in voting. Yeah, the very easily hackable, easily corrupted mail-in voting. Don't let that happen. Next drop, 3914. Q gives us the Armor of God Bible passage, saying the world will soon understand. 3915. Q gives us a tweet from, shout out to Methods. Man, still getting queued. Doing great work, Methods. He says, what are the odds? On January 15th was the first patient who became the first confirmed U.S. case leaves Wuhan and arrives in the U.S. They said it was January 15th. Also on January 15th, wow, what a coincidence. That's when the articles of impeachment were delivered to the Senate. Finally, Nancy Pelosi was holding them out for a long time, remember? Holding them out. Well, what a coincidence. Same day she delivered them. They claim that patient with coronavirus left Wuhan and came to the U.S. Who knows if it actually happened? That's just what they're saying in the media. But what a coincidence. Same day. Q then says, why was it fast-tracked in the House? Why did Pelosi hold it until January 15th? What was the, quote, release marker? Media said, person left Wuhan? Maybe that was the release marker that Pelosi would deliver it. Public, time to negate Senate witness process. What if impeachment was meant to fail? What if impeachment was meant to distract from overseas developments? The distraction for the distraction. You see? Let that develop in China. Let it spread a little bit. The commies in China keep it hush. They don't say anything for a couple months, and they just let it happen. They will stop at nothing to regain power. What did all U.S. media focus on during the, quote, impeachment process? That right there. How do you term POTUS rallies? How do you term POTUS? Economic gains, unemployment gains, POTUS-China trade negotiations. How do you term Biden debates, public appearances, live interviews, etc., etc.? How do you change the narrative? Who benefits the most? How do you alter POTUS-Biden presidential debate structure? Wow. Lock down everything, and you won't have presidential debates. You won't have an opportunity for President Trump to smash crazy, creepy, senile Joe Biden, who wouldn't even know what to say. He would just be stammering on stage. Deep State desperately does not want a debate. So this whole coronavirus pandemic they have going on checks off a lot of boxes in that agenda, right? How do you hold hostage public aid in exchange for national, quote, ballot harvesting law adoptions? How do you appease radical left knowing Sanders' dropout was coming? Bernie Sanders dropped out, or at least claimed he dropped out. I was listening to President Trump during the presser last night, and he said, well, Sanders actually is holding on to his delegates, so he's like dropping out, but really not. We'll see what he really does. But, how do you appease the radical left knowing Sanders' dropout is coming? Coronavirus, boom, distracts everybody. The truth will shock the world, regain power by any means necessary. Moving on to drop 3916, we've got Henry Kissinger. I don't know if he's ever been mentioned in Q's drops before, but I love to see his ass lit up in these posts. Q gives us a meme of a quote from Henry Kissinger, and then again saying the silent war continues. Note the 2 dots. But this says the plan, and I'm going to read his quote so you can try to grasp what's going on in these people's minds. I mean, I don't know if we truly can because they're just sick beyond belief, but just listen to this. Today, Americans would be outraged if UN troops entered Los Angeles to restore order. Tomorrow, they would be grateful. This is especially true if they were told there was an outside threat from beyond, whether real or promulgated, that threatened our very existence. It is then that all people of the world will pledge with world leaders to deliver them from this evil. The one thing every man fears is the unknown. When presented with this scenario, individual rights will be willingly relinquished for the guarantee of their well-being granted to them by their world government. He actually said that at a Bilderberg meeting too. Wow. Henry Kissinger. Yeah. No. Moving on, post 3917, and this gets into some hardcore topics, so viewer discretion is advised. And this also confused quite a few people too, and I'm going to try to give it my best as to why these particular tweets and websites were linked here and what it could really be telling us. So Q says, out of order, insert important. They bolded it. They put it in the brackets, so it's important. Q then links a tweet, says, did you think spirit cooking was just pretend? And then links us a website, cannibalclub.org. I'm not even going to go to that website. I would go to the tweet, but I think it's since been removed. But essentially what happened is that Q linked a tweet that showed screen caps of a Facebook page. And this was a Facebook page about humans eating humans, essentially. And Q says, out of order, insert important. Now, in this tweet, it had those screen caps, and the screen caps of this Facebook page, well, it came to be known that it was a faked Facebook page. It was kind of a hoaxy page, right? Well, what if Q could be just linking this to get this ideas out into the public domain? And there's another drop I'm going to show you here. This was 2 drops later. I'm just going to tell it to you right now to give you more context of this, because a lot of people are like, why is Q linking a fake profile or a fake website or all this stuff? Well, check this out. In post 3919, it says, how do you hide the truth? Example, create a website and label it fake. How do you hide the truth? Create a public trend regarding term conspiracy to humiliate. Typecast as mental crazy loony. Anyone who opposes the narrative. How do you hide the truth? Control the majority of a media to project a controlled message on a topic. Well, that first line, how do you hide the truth? Create a website and label it fake. So I think these were fake pages, fake website. I think Q knew they were fake, but Q's goal in linking them was to, number 1, tell us that spirit cooking is not just pretend. Number 2, tell us that these are probably hoaxed websites and hoaxed Facebook pages, so they can use these hoaxed pages to control the narrative, to discredit, right? And discredit all with. And the last thing is that somebody actually did a reverse image search with one of the photos that was in that tweet that Q linked, and it did bring up a certain photographer's blog that did have quite a bit of it looked very illegal. I'll just say that. It looked very illegal, and it looked like this particular blog was into some really weird stuff. And I'll link the research thread down below where you can take a look at that reverse image search on that. But I think Q was basically putting some information out there in subtle ways. You know, sometimes they've linked fake pages or shill accounts before on Twitter. Q's done that before, and they don't give us the context. Really, it's up to us to figure that context out and not freak out thinking that Q's lying to us or pulling our strings just because they're linking fake pages, right? There's a method to their madness. There's a madness to their method, I'm sure. Next drop, 3918. Q gives us a Fox News article, and this is on Bill Barr's interview that he did with Laura Ingraham last night, the Ingraham angle. And Barr said he's disappointed by partisan attacks leveled at President Trump, saying the media is on a, quote, jihad against hydroxychloroquine. Q says, difficult to imagine the media and the Democratic Party attempting to squash all hope of a cure. It's very difficult to imagine, maybe for the normies, but you know, if you're waking up, taking those red pills, it's not that tough. And speaking of pills, let's talk about hydroxychloroquine for a second. I put out a video on this subject a few days ago, and I'll reiterate some of those same points here. What I think they're doing with hydroxychloroquine is to do exactly this: expose the corruption and the evilness of the media and those against Trump, because they'll be against the cure if Trump's for it. It's just Trump derangement syndrome. Ipso facto, it's the math of it. Anything Trump's for, they'll be against. And POTUS for a cure, POTUS for helping people, they're automatically going to be against that. Try to make them look bad. And it's not really all about hydroxychloroquine. I mean, in my opinion, there's many things out there that we can use to protect ourselves and prevent these sorts of viruses and respiratory infections. There's probably a lot of things out there that could help us, but they chose hydroxychloroquine for various reasons. I think because it's a generic, it's relatively cheap in terms of pharmaceutical drugs, and, you know, honestly, hydroxychloroquine, chlorine is the 17th element in the periodic table. Hydroxychloroquine is really a derivative of quinine, that natural compound. So we've got like a Q with quinine. Quinine battles Q fever, if I remember correctly. It's just funny. I don't know. I'm just yanking your chain with some connections there. But anyway, Don't focus on the pill, is what I'm saying. Focus on just making yourself healthy holistically. I see a lot of people focusing on hydroxychloroquine as if it's the end-all be-all cure for coronavirus, everything. It's not really, right? It is absolutely a way we can help ourselves and manage this, prevent it, get over it. But there's many ways to do that. So don't just focus on the pill, thinking the pill is going to save you, because that's still a idol worshiping sort of mindset when you're focusing on that pill. Let's move on. Difficult to imagine media, Democratic Party wanting public to remain in fear regarding the coronavirus up until the election. You know, some folks out there have been saying that they don't want us to go out in public until a vaccine is made. And that could take like a year to a year and a half if they do the testing properly on it, which they normally don't do on vaccines. But wow, stay inside for the next year. That sounds like it goes right there with the election. Ha! They'll have everybody mailing in their votes if they have their way. Let's go to 3920 now. Q says, what happens when state actors and assets are removed? How does a state actor gain leverage over a person in power? Blackmail. Define traitor. Data exchanges can be very dangerous. Well, when state actors and assets are removed, and they're the ones that had the blackmail leverage over that politician or influential person, well, there goes your plans, folks. Deep state folk. And data exchanges when it comes to maybe this agency to that agency or foreign intelligence service with our intelligence service. Q can then figure out who the bad actors and what sort of blackmail has been going on, et cetera, et cetera. You know, who knows what they might really mean with that post there, but we can do our own theorizing on it. Next drop, 3921. FISA indictments equal the start. Imagine that, folks. We're not even at the start yet. Ha! Crazy, huh? FISA indictments equal the start. That'll start getting all of those folks in the Clinton cabal arrested and tried and just opening it up for a mass public awakening. Once that happens, game on. Next drop, 3922. Q gives us a tweet right here. This tweet was a short clip from Bill Barr's interview with Laura Ingraham, and this one was on FISA. So Bill Barr is saying what happened to POTUS was one of the greatest travesties in American history, and it's huge. They try to not only spy on him, but sabotage his whole presidency. Much to learn there. I'm sure we will. Next drop, 3923. Q links us an article to The Guardian. Invisible enemy. Trump says he is the wartime president in the coronavirus battle. And mentioned this before, many people out there can tell because they're intuitive. But when you're listening to President Trump speaking, especially during this coronavirus pandemic and these pressers he's been doing, he always talks with double meaning. And my gosh, he's always talking about the invisible enemy that we have to fight, and it's a military operation going on. He said that in the press conferences, like quite obviously. You know what he's talking about. Q says compare and contrast. Dates are important. Next up, drop 3924. Obama's half-brother, Malik Obama, follows Q. He's actually been posting Q-related material for a long time, for months, if not well over a year. And he's been doing it a lot lately, even posting about adrenochrome and just crazy subjects like that. But today, 4 days ago, Malik Obama gives us a bell where we go one, we go all with that hashtag. And Q links that for us today. And then we'll go through our last few drops here. Drop 3925. Q links a tweet from POTUS. I believe this one is on the FISA abuse, where he calls it bigger than Watergate. Crooked Hillary, Democrats, fake dossier, Russia, Russia, Russia. My gosh. I'm surprised they're not blaming this disease on the Russians, right? Do people really believe the biggest scandal in modern U.S. history will go unpunished? Scot-free. Scot-free. Back channels are important. Patriots stand at the ready. Shills wine. Poor shills. A lot of them out there crying. 3926. CBS News was caught faking hospital footage yet again. This happened last week, where they, of course, tried to pass off Italy footage as being from New York. They did the same damn thing. They can't stop doing it. They can't stop faking their footage. And this is CBS. CBS has faked so much footage in recent years. Weren't they the ones that tried to pass off that Kentucky shooting range as being Syrian war footage? Remember that? They called it Syrian war footage. It was a shooting range from frickin' Kentucky. It's just another day in fake news land where they're literally faking the freaking news. Gotta understand that. And then I'm gonna refresh this because this might not be the last drop. Nope. I've tried to record this video like twice today already, and every time I do, Q starts posting again, so I have to wait. Last drop we have here, 3927. Q links a tweet here from Q the Wake Up, says, "We are united in this fight. Where we go one, we go wall." Take a look at that tweet. And this was from a patriot in Rwanda. And he says, "Where we go one, we go wall," right there. How awesome is that? Worldwide, folks. And I just want to say, I'm so happy that this account got queued because it's the account of a good friend of mine. A really good friend of mine, actually. The account of my friend that helped me film Above Majestic. So, good buddy. He also edits videos on this channel from time to time. Any of the vlogs that you've seen, like when I went to DC last year and a few others, he edited too. So, that's my good buddy. Yeah, Q the Wake Up. Shout out to him. Teamwork makes the dream work, baby. Where we going, we go walls. And that's where we're at with Q's drops, man. So thank you for watching this. Much appreciated, everybody. Good to have Q posting regularly again. A lot to keep up with. And if you enjoy the work I'm doing, if you want to support, you know, I've been dealing with a lot of censorship lately. No more PayPal, no more Venmo. All the links for that stuff will be below. Go check them out. Thank you, everybody. See you again soon. Done for this one.